Morning, Dale and Aman, and welcome to Sea Talk.
Morning.
Morning, Paul.
Morning. So we've got a guest appearance today, live and direct from Dubai. Aman, thanks for joining us. So Dale, I'm going to come straight into you, but just for an overview today, we're going to be talking about how damaging illicit trade is, how now this is getting more and more concerning for retailers up and down the country, and how much of loss of revenue this is now causing retailers, and also the impact that it's having on retailers when our retailers are thinking about what do they do going forward. So Dale, just tell me who you are, who you represent, and then let's go into an overview of how big this problem is.
My name's Dale Stacey. I'm the communications manager for JTI UK. One of my main roles is working with the retail trade up and down the country. Significantly more so since we launched the It Costs More Than You Think campaign in the summer of last year. So we're fast approaching the 1 year anniversary of that program being up and running, and we're really starting to see the growth of the awareness of that campaign really coming to the front, which is fantastic. You know, we are at that point at the moment where we're continuing to see the rise of the illegal trade in society, in the community. And that is ultimately why we set the campaign up, is to actually give ourselves tools, to give ourselves ways to actually, you know, provide calls to action for whether it be political representatives, whether it be trading standards authorities, whether it be communities themselves, as well as what is, you know, the strongest voice we have, which is the retailers.
So Aman is a close friend of the family. His dad and my dad were almost like in business together at the same time here in Coventry. Aman ran a store in Mount Nod and we're in Tyler. So we're literally 5 minutes apart from each other. And, you know, this is when me and Aman started probably campaigning and driving Intel into Coventry City Council. It was actually me and Aman that drove this in Coventry because it affected us both. But Aman, over to you.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate the opportunity to be back on the platform again. And listening to what you're saying, Dale, it's great to hear what the manufacturers are doing. We had it with what Paul's been doing, what I was part of other organisations, ACS, NFRN, what more symbol groups were doing, but never had anything from the government. And that was our problem in Coventry. Like, we were literally speaking on a daily basis, Paul and I, about the illicit trade. And it wasn't like we talk normally with other retailers, oh, this is happening in my store in one part of the country, this is happening up in Scotland. This was literally the same customers, my customers, Paul's customers, who frequent both stores, live within the areas. As Paul said, we're literally a mile away. We were seeing this happening, and it was increasing week by week, month by month. You could buy single cigarette, you could buy vapes, and now it's got to the next level, which is THC. What comes beyond that? It's if these retailers are willing to sell those products in those manners, then what else are they doing? You know, it wasn't a fair level playing field at all.
But I mean, when you had the store, obviously, you know, from a family's point, you know, you decided to, you know, exit the industry. But the loss of cigarette sales, you know, as me and you both spoke about many times, it didn't just affect the cigarette sales in the shop, did it? It affected our overall sales, and actually it made us have that think cap of, you know, what are we doing this for, right? Me and you had many conversations about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's 100% right. I'm not even, I'm not in the industry anymore, as you said. We sold up last April. So I wouldn't say it's the exact reason. There was a lot of different reasons, but it was one of the most important reasons was the loss of sales, the not having that faith within the local authorities, within the government at the time, that they're protecting retailers. Crime was a massive thing to be worrying about at the time, still is now for the retailers I talk with. But when you've got all of these things going on at the same time and you're seeing your profits going down and you're having to invest in other areas of your store as well, and also being sort of hit for them in other ways by obviously trying to improve your business, it wasn't becoming viable. And I think, I mean, Paul, you remember back like 2022, our last significant investment into the store in terms of a refurb was making one of the first vape stores within a store concept, and won a national award for that. And it was a very good time. We learned as the vape industry was sort of growing, and it was a good thing for our business. And I understand the taxation on it, but the law's changing so significantly. And then on the other side, we're not getting support with the illicit trade, which then you're seeing your sales are going down. That customer that would have been buying 20 of you a day, that comes in every day, you've known them for years. When you start to see them not buying that, and then they're not coming in for the other bits and bobs that come associated with that purchase, you really do start to see the pennies turn into pounds on your average basket spend, that decrease. So, it was challenging times.
So the impact of illegal tobacco, what do you reckon it's costing the UK convenience retail outlets today?
I think in terms of what it means to individual stores, it's very difficult to ascertain that, because obviously up and down the country that can vary significantly. We know that it's costing the government, by their own calculations, somewhere in the region of £2 billion per year. So that, by their own calculations, is significant. I think from our own research, it could be and is more likely to be much more than that. So that really kind of underpins why it's so important for authorities and for the for the government to take this seriously. And some of the polling we've seen, when we've been out and spoken to people on the street, and we've carried out our own independent polling, I think it's 80% of people are saying that politicians aren't doing enough, because they're seeing the impact it's having to community. They haven't seen the impact it's having in their own local stores, and so it is obvious, and it is becoming more common knowledge that that more needs to be done. And we know that the numbers in terms of the growth of the illegal trade is still in growth. And when we see taxation coming further down the road this year, double taxation potentially with a double duty on tobacco products, all we're doing is creating a bigger and bigger disparity, and we're just fueling the illegal trade. So it's only going to increase until we get a handle on the impact of taxation and duty and its direct correlation with the increase in the illegal trade. And this is where we start talking about how many layers are really there to impact this. And so very, we can all sit here comfortably and say, look, trading standards, they can do a very good job, but they're just not currently, they do not have the budget to really target where they need to target and do the role to the extent that they are able to do. They're just not able to do it right now.
What are JTI doing in helping retailers tackling illicit tobacco?
So part of the program and the campaign we have, so it's very much centered around obviously the engagement side, but also the activation side through our microsite. It costs more than you think. So all of the most up-to-date information can be found there. And retailers, communities, and government officials, they can all go into their respective areas of that site. They can download fact sheets. They can see the call to action. They can find the tools to help them identify and spot the illegal trade within their communities. And we know, obviously, that when we talk again to people up and down the country, the fear of the fear of actually going and taking that step to report the illegal trade in their communities is a challenge, and it will be a challenge. But what we are offering through our website is the opportunity just to understand how they can do so, without the fear of repercussions. Finding ways to confidentially report to the various forms that they have, whether it be through directly to trading standards, whether it be through Crime Stoppers. There are ways to do it. But I think what we want to give retailers the confidence is that it's not their fight alone. We're there to support them through this and to provide that platform to raise retailer voices, to give them the opportunity to speak up and speak out, and hopefully it's heard and listened to and acted upon. But also giving communities the visibility and the tools to actually take action themselves.
And that's really important, because when you talk to retailers up and down the country who have this problem on their doorstep, retailers are very scared to report. because they don't know what impact this is going to bring to their front door.
Yes.
Because you know these shops are running illegally. You don't know who's behind them. We've heard and seen what's happened in Australia, where it's now become a gang war between who's got one store to another one, and we don't really want that coming to the streets of the UK, to our communities. Let's go on to another piece. So the impact of the tobacco and vapes bill. What's JTI stance on that?
Again, from an illegal trade perspective, it's only going to further fuel the illegal trade. And we've worked hard, and the retail voice has worked incredibly hard to raise the concerns throughout the process. They haven't been heard, and they have been discounted throughout the process, which is disappointing for everybody. I'm sure it's a huge element of frustration for all those valuable retailers who serve their communities, who have looked to stand up and speak out, for it not to have been heard. And when we'd spoken to retailers, that I think 87% of the retailers that we polled were concerned that the tobacco and vapes bill in its form is going to further kind of boost and fuel the illegal trade, because they're not bound by the same restrictions and the same legal framework that legitimate retailers are bound by. So again, coupled with all these layers we're touching upon, it's only going to create a bigger disparity between the illegal trade to legitimate retail. And again, we're just handing criminal organizations the keys to make further profits from legitimate retailers who are probably working across the street on the same high street in the same towns and cities up and down the country. And I think that is, that hasn't been heard to date properly. And that is, I think, something that when we speak to retailers, there is a source of deep frustration. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, they're trying to fix a problem before they fix the bigger problem. And today, I believe the bigger problem, which is the illicit side, and it's like customers come in now and they just ask, what's the cheapest 20? Because now the customers got used to just buying that cheap pack of cigarettes for £20. And when you hear that coming into your store, and then they say, I don't want them. And then they go. It's like Aman said, it's the associated basket spend that we then lose in the store. The frequency of that customer coming into the store, we lose. And I think it gets a bit demoralising when you hear that every day. When you phone the council and trading standards say, I've got to look back in the toolbox. So I think a key message is, I think government do need to get out of Westminster. They need to start talking in neighbourhoods and to understand what's going on, because I don't think this is going away. I think what the government have done with this bill is only opened it up for these illicit gangs to do more up and down the country. But what we'll do in this video, we'll share the link to the microsite for retailers. Hopefully get behind it. And if you are having this activity on your doorstep, please go on to the microsite, and all the information is on there. It's shared, it's easy to do. It's there as a tool for all retailers up and down the country. And, my advice is, if you see it happening, get on the site and report it. Thank you very much, Dale. And thank you very much to the team at JTI for supporting independents up and down the country.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, Aman. Thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome.